after the introduction made, I would love to hear a 30 seconds introduction to the idea of co-production, your definition of co-production in 30 seconds. Let me start with Ali, because his definition will be closer to the world of movies than the rest. So it will be interesting to start with you, Ali, and then come this way. Please.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming out. So I think in terms, certainly with movies, co-production tends to come down to finance. You have a budget, you don't have one party that wants to pay for the full budget, so you essentially bring partners on board. It can either be a co-production in a single territory. So for example, at MBC Studios, we have a number of co-productions with Image Nation, with Vox, where we share the cost of the film, and then we also obviously share in the revenues, and each partner brings something specific to the table beyond just the finance. Internationally, I mean, one of the first films that Fadi and I worked on before I joined MBC was The Idol, actually about Gaza and Mohammed Asaf, and that was a co-production in a different kind of way, like an international co-production, where we were able to access some soft money out of the UK, because we did post there. We got some soft money out of Belgium. MBC took the kind of MENA right. So that was a case of like a tapestry of putting together pieces of finance, not simply just for the kind of upfront financing of the project, but also you can access, for example, like I said, rebates, soft money to bring the net budget down.
So your definition is basically like a co-financing.
Correct. It's co-financing.
Co-production equals co-financing in your...
That's a big part of it.
Okay.
Sometimes there are creative reasons too. So for example, you may have a French-German co-production, you have a German story and a French director, so it makes sense for it to be an official co-production. There are things called official co-production treaties between certain countries. But on the whole, it tends to be connected to the budget and also how can you put together the kind of tapestry of the financing.
Joachim, please.
All right. For me, co-production will be mutual benefits from a creative side, marketing side, and financial side.
The three sides, can you repeat them?
Creative, market audience, and financial side.
Okay, interesting. Tony?
Yeah, hi, thank you for having me first. And for me, it's like three things for production and co-production. One of them is financing. The second will be the talent as well, and the distribution. Okay. So for us, when we do co-production, and we did this experience previously on a series, not the movies, and as Ali said, it is international market that Hulu take part of the distribution. We took the MENA, and Channel 4 took Europe. So it can work like this because we financed, and the talent was agreed on all parties, and then the distribution were spread across three parties.
I will ask a question about the distribution aspect when it comes to co-production, but let's hear Yuliya first.
I think it's all of the three. Everyone was right, and I think it's the same for the movies as for this television. And we, as ZDF Studios, we're a distributor, so we're looking to get the best content for as little money as possible, because everything is super expensive. The production budgets are skyrocketing, also through inflation. So basically, we're trying to get projects financed and just to get them done, and hopefully we can get the distribution rights for those projects. And it's mostly, as Ali said, it can be either creative, it's like about how the story goes, it can be like where the story is based, what's the storyline. You need like natural co-productions that, for some reasons. Then there are also co-productions because it's just too expensive to pay for one person. Examples of our recent co-productions are The Swarm, our Concordia. Like those are, on The Swarm, we had 8 partners. We had people from, eight, yes. We had like, it's a 40 million production budget. And with the streamers having all the millions, we don't know from where. You know, like public broadcasters in Europe, they struggle to make high-end productions and to finance them. So that's why co-production come in handy, and they're like, in Europe, different, also different treaties between the public broadcasters, how to get things done, like N8 or the Alliance. So it's just a way to make programs.
Unfortunately, we have here to navigate the world of co-production without having treaties to facilitate this kind of inter-borders between different countries. It is organized by and regulated by treaties, but that is missing. But an example of what Yuliya said is of 8 partners coming together to produce a series of 20, how many episodes is it?
8.
8 episodes. 20 million euros or dollars?
40 million euros.
40 million euros. Do you want to do the calculations? What is the episode cost? When we're talking about this money, co-production is the natural course of action. It's not the exception, it's the rule, because these are a lot of money, and those kind of ZDF or federation, or they're doing many of these, not just one, so that they can put all their finance in one. And that's important to remember. I will read to you, after we all discussed each definition, what Webster Dictionary says about co-production. Just a simple English. Webster is not a media dictionary, it's just English. And it says the following. It says it's when 2 or more parties collaborate, and it is a means of optimizing the use of resources and expertise. Optimizing the use of resources, financial, creative, whatever, and expertise, as well as sharing the financial risk and rewards. You share the risk, you share the rewards. That makes sense. If all of this makes sense, why don't we have, I mean, I will ask you about examples, Ali and Tony first, because you're the regional partners, and then I will ask our friends from Europe. But the fact is, from among the hundreds of series produced, I don't think we have more than few co-productions in the Arab world. Fact. Even I think MBC, and I think I remember from my times and later, there are very, very few, if any, co-productions. Now, we can analyze why, but more important is to analyze the models and what is happening in the world today, so that we can benefit and do what is impossible to do alone, but do it as a group. I'll give you one example of what is a co-production now. It is on air as we speak, and it's a co-production. It's The Crown. They released the season 6. A lot of us are watching it. I'm doing free advertising for Netflix. It is a co-production between BBC and AMC, American network, and the Ink Factory production company. Another example of a few years ago is The Night Manager. Night Manager is a wonderful series starring Tom Hiddleston, and it is a classic example of transnational production between the UK, sorry, my mistake, Netflix and Left Bank is a UK company, are the co-production partners in The Crown. In The Night Manager, it is BBC and AMC that are the producers. Each one will tell us about, can we discuss some examples, because it will be interesting to know the model that the co-production you've done was based on. And I'm sure we will have different models, but if you don't mind, let's understand some practicalities. Your model of the last production that your co-production that you're aware of. Can you tell us a bit more?
So I have to tell you that we've been in the co-production business for a really long time. I think the first ones that you found on our website were like maybe 13 years ago. It was The Killing originally from Denmark. It was The Bridge from Sweden. So we've been in the co-production business for a long time. It's mostly European co-productions at the beginning. And to be honest, we're constantly involved in new projects. Like it's an ongoing process because, you know, some creatives are greater from that country. You have like creatives that are like, you know, and ideas are international. So I think like the most famous recent example is The Swarm, like I told you, with 8 partners. The idea originally is from Germany. It's based on a German best-selling novel, The Swarm. And it is produced by Game of Thrones producer Frank Dolger. So ZDF was the initiator on the project, the channel side. And then they started, because they knew that it will be going to be expensive, and because the book is based on, so the book is natural co-production, because the cast could have been casted internationally because there are catastrophes and natural disasters are happening all over the world. So you could cast both from all over the world for that series. And it, like this, it started. So then they went and started to talk to a lot of people. And then at the end of the day, I came in with trying to find an Asian partner because there was an Asian storyline. And it should have been China initially because it's in the book, was Chinese, I think Chinese military man, but co-productions with China are complicated. So we went for Japan and we found a wonderful partner, Hulu Japan, that came on board, liked the story. So that's why we have a Japanese superstar in it. So sometimes you also, to make it attractive to one audience, you just like, you get to a star to be a part of the cast. And so that's how it came along. And yes, it was a massive kind of workload because the shooting had to be postponed because of Corona. And it ended to be more expensive than it should have been. It should have been shot at the different places than it should have been. But I think so far everyone is happy. Everyone, kind of like the channel was super happy. It was a huge success in Germany. It was a big success in France, for example. And so we're really happy with it.
Can I ask you, before we move to Tony, how long did it take to identify a partner, negotiate with the partner and reach a deal? Just that aspect of the process.
To be honest, like with every project and with every co-production, you have to be really patient. Like with every deal, even sales deal you have to be patient. But with co-productions, you have to be extra patient because there are like many contracts involved and partners. And I cannot even tell you how many years, because I think alone the book deal took us maybe 10 years to get the book rights. So sometimes it just take years and years and years. And
if I may say something just for the audience who is not from the region, one of the challenges of producing this region are that most, if not all, of the decision makers in platforms, broadcasters, need to have content done quickly. 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, whatever. 1 year is wonderful if you have 1 year to do that. And that is because of scheduling and other and budgeting issues, but that's the fact. And that could be, when we're talking about obstacles, one of the major obstacles is, do we have time to plan and execute and do what it takes to do a good co-production? Tony, what's an example that you can tell us about co-production and how you managed it? What was it? What kind of a
Look, for us, production is not our core business, but we do production and co-productions. Mainly we acquire and we commission, mostly. But on the production and co-production, we did several ones. I will start with Baghdad Central. Next, we did Caboose with Imagination. And also recently we did the $1 Million Listing. It's an international format from Universal that we also co-produced with Imagination, and we have the distribution right in MENA.
Can I ask you about the first one, Baghdad Central, because it is an international series. It aired on Channel 4 in the UK and other places. Was it mostly a co-finance in terms of what were your
It
contributions?
is a co-finance, and
Yeah.
it's also basically it was on the IP, on the territories as well.
You took Middle East.
Yes, so
and
we
you have
took
all
Middle
rights
East,
in the Middle
yes.
East. Okay.
But if we want to resell the rights, we have all together to agree on where or to whom we sell.
Okay. Thank you. I think, Joachim, your company was launched by Federation. It's part of Federation last year, if 2022. And it is the initials are the short of Middle East, Africa, and Caribbean. So your brief is to co-produce in this part of the world. Based on that kind of understanding, how would you see the model that works here in co-production with the local and the regional players?
Wow, this is a big question for me. Thank you. I don't know if I have the exact answer right now, but what I can tell you about the last co-production we've done, it's with South Africa. So we will try to duplicate and adjust the same model. So what we've done with South Africa, we have a show. It was released on MultiChoice and Canal Plus on the African continent 3 weeks ago. So it's very recent, right? And so what we're trying to do is we initiate the project in Paris, but all of the crew and the creative team come from South Africa, come from Cape Town actually. So the idea was to make a 100% show from South Africa, to be genuine, to be authentic to the story we wanted to tell there. So scriptwriters, directors, all the actors, actresses, all the posts were done there in Cape Town. And financially, we split the bill in two. We have 50% kind of that was taking part of a Canal Plus budget, and the other part was taken care by MultiChoice. And the idea behind that is to renew or to find another way to make co-production, which is not exactly what we used to do, under the umbrella of a treaty, where you have to...
What's the main difference?
Yes, a lot, in my point of view, because when you have a treaty, let's say if I want to make a co-production between an African country, let's say, South Africa again, because we have signed between France and South Africa a treaty of co-production that include TV production, we have to make a mixed team. So I need to hire French scriptwriter, South African scriptwriter, I need to have a French director, but a South African DOP. And it's like a cocktail. So sometimes it works, sometimes it's a big failure. And when it's a big failure, it's a very, very, very big failure. Because no one is happy, the market is unhappy, the financiers are unhappy, your director is unhappy, everyone is unhappy. When it works, it's absolutely marvelous, it's fireworks. But it's very, very risky and very tricky. So the way I would like to do, most of my co-pro is to come with what I know, right? And I don't want to oblige to impose anything to anyone. So in South Africa, I'm not from Cape Town. I know very well South Africa, but I'm not from there. So what I've done, I know South Africa very well for more than 15 years. But what I've done, I include myself in one aspect of the South African culture, with the colored culture, mainly in Western Cape. And as I've done that, I was able to meet the best scriptwriter, the best director, sometimes the best key person you want to have on a production. That could be the line producer, that could be a manager producer. And you didn't ask me, but I will tell you how long it was to find my South African co-pro. It was a long and a short story. The long story, it was like I wanted to create a safe space for him and I. So how do you create a safe space in a short amount of time? So you need time to learn about him or her. And short story, it's because I was linked to the region. I know well the industry there. And so I just try to choose the best one from my experience. So experience is a key word too when you want to enter a new market.
Thank you. From your experience, Ali, there is three partners in producing Haujan, the film that will be released, premiere in Red Sea Film Festival in a couple of weeks. It's based on a very famous Saudi novel, and it's a thriller,
Fantasy
romance, maybe the first of its kind. You had three partners, all of them are big players, Vox, Image Nation, and MBC. This project took what it took, 2-3 years, if not more. 5 years. If you want to redo it today, how would you tackle the issue of too many creatives? You know, the proverb, too many cooks spoil the broth. How would the creative aspect of a co-production in film, I mean, when we watch a Hollywood movie, you will see in the credits 7, 8 producers, names and logos. We don't have that a lot, but we have it more in films than in series anyway, in this part of the world. What can go wrong in a co-production when all the creative parts are also shared by different people and you have to have a consensus before you can move forward?
Well, okay, not just speaking specifically about Haujan, but in general, the principle of co-production from a creative point of view, when you have 2 or 3 producers. I think one big difference between film and TV is the centrality of the director. The director in film is key. I mean, that's your creative captain. So all of you have to stand behind the director, because the minute you start having producers thinking they're more creative than your director, you have a problem. So there are always going to be creative differences, but you hope that there's also a system and process in place for there to be, creative alignment in terms of why are you all in the same project, what do you hope to achieve from it, whether it's a budget conversation, whether it's a script conversation, a casting conversation, a marketing campaign conversation. There will always be areas where there could be divergence of opinion. But ultimately, any successful co-production has to be built on mutual respect, very clear contracts, but also ultimately standing behind your director and having the faith that your director is the person that can deliver the creative vision for the project.
That makes me want to ask this question, not in the order I have, but as a response. I want to ask each one of you, but with a short answer, please. Do you think a co-production can happen with a ready script? Somebody provides you a script, you like it, and you enter into, I'm talking mostly series. So your contribution to the creative part is minimal or non-existent because you like the script. Maybe there is some fine-tuning, but the project in terms of development is ready. Is that one model where you can continue and build a co-production on that basis in series? Please.
So we come on board in different stages, sometimes even like on a pitch deck of one-pager. So it can be, the scripts, yes, they can be finished, but depending, because it's a co-production, depending on the partner, you have to be open that they will have notes. So everyone will have notes. You have to be open to it. And, it's also work in progress anyways. So, yeah, it is possible if you have a ready script, but it's usually not the case. It's usually like pitch deck and a pilot. That's what usually everyone needs to read first.
Notes. Joachim, because I'll come back to you, Tony.
Yes, I agree with Yuliya. It's very difficult to get on board and not saying anything, when you have a script. And if you want to create a team, like you want to work together, you can expect someone to have notes and feedbacks on what you done. And like Yuliya, for us, we are very open on ready one-pager to first draft of a script, but we never get on board on something with like secured and fixed, and we can't say anything.
Tony, the same question?
Yes, so for us, as a fact, we are doing it now. So we are in the middle of co-production with some of the regional OTT players. So for us, when we filter our need and genre, let's say, if we are male skewed, so we select the genre and we agree with our partner that this is what we need as a genre. So we filter down the major factors that we can build the script based on it. And then we work together to select or build up the script from scratch to fit our needs and their needs. And we know that it will work for us and for them at the same time.
I will stay with you, Tony, because you've been in leadership position in different regional players. Why, among the hundreds of series produced in the last 7, 8, 10 years, I don't want to go to the pre-digital age, why wouldn't we see lots of co-productions in this region? So that's why I'm asking you, because you have that experience.
Yeah, so it depends on the company strategy. Because as you know, if you have like IPs that is segregated across multiple players, then when the company will go like IPO in the future and the valuation of the company without having a deep library that they own, full IP, it may be a driver for the company itself. Others need exclusivity to drive the acquisition part. They take the IP, full IP, to keep it exclusive on their platform or on their channels to have acquisition power. So this is a leverage. For us, you know, we can do this and we can also have a co-production and share the rights because sometimes we see the engagement as important as the acquisition as well and the retention. So it will be different from company to a company. Like I will take my previous experience, money was not the issue in the company. It was growing the company, the subscriber base, and the IP of the valuation of the company itself. And hence no co-production.
When money is not a problem, that will bring me to the other part of the title of this discussion about international audience. I claim that among the hundreds of series produced across the years in the Arab world, those few which are known, recognized internationally are few. I mean, those few are few. It is a fact that Arab content has not managed to have a foothold internationally, despite the fact that Netflix and Amazon and all others are showing. But I'm not sure that there is a consensus that series X or Y or Z has a big viewership in Asia and Latin America. I don't think this is happening, unlike the Turkish or Korean. So money, is it a problem? Meaning, for those who don't know the local range of prices, most of the cost of production here per episode, and Tony correct me and Ali correct me if I'm wrong, is between 150 to 500, and maybe the average is $250,000-300,000 per episode. Am I on the right track?
Yes, that's the range.
That's an average. So with that kind of money, can we have the quality for the production, Arab production, to travel? If the answer is yes, why didn't it do that? If the answer is no, we need to raise the level of quality of storytelling, quality of production, then it will be possible. But then that's where the co-production comes, because one of the first benefits of co-production is optimizing the use of resources, sharing financial risks. If anybody pays, if Tony, you pay, instead of your 500, you have to pay 700, 800,000 for a series, isn't it better to have it with a partner like ZDF or Federation, so you can share the risk and assure the reach for international market rather than stay in the same 200, 300,000? although the Turks, our friends in Turkey can confirm the average cost per TV hour in Turkey, the TV hour, not the full 90 minutes or 120, is not higher than the Arab cost. That's a fact. It's not more than 150, 200,000, 250 per TV hour. So it's the same, it's not the cost. Wouldn't the co-production be the solution that allows Arabic content to travel like what the Turkish did?
Look, there are two aspects to this subject. First of all, in my mind, we should start by having content that can travel in the Arab world before going internationally. Today, we can see that the Egyptian market cannot accept some kind of production that fits the GCC. However, maybe the Egyptian production fits in the GCC countries. So once we have like the scripts that can fit all in the Arab world, we can start doing scripts to travel around Europe, US, and Australia maybe. For us as StarzPlay, we are trying to select some of the production that will travel, and we, as we mentioned, $1 million listing can travel. Because it's, yes, from the region, it elevates the region, but it can also be appealing for the US market, the European market.
But it's unscripted, right?
This is unscripted,
And
yes.
the same with Dubai Bling, which was supported by Rise Studios, and
Yes.
it did travel
again,
internationally.
on,
But
on the drama,
Yeah.
the scripted, as I said, it will be difficult to have, not impossible, but difficult to find the script that can travel and be also appealing for the region for now. Because the region demands are a little bit different from the international market.
Ali, what would you say about that?
Money is no guarantee of success, but it helps. It helps in terms of the level of quality of the production, the writing, the writer, the production values. But just because you spend X amount of millions of dollars doesn't mean you suddenly have a masterpiece. So it helps, but it doesn't guarantee. We have seen Arab films travel. Films like from Nadine Labaki, Hani Abu As'ad have traveled. I'm happy to say I had a success with the film The Swimmers, which I produced for work entitled Netflix, which was a big success last year, and that was because of the platform. I mean, the film was great, but the platform, the film was good. You can decide if it's great. But having Netflix meant that we were unbelievable partner for that kind of film. It took a story about two Arab girls and made it a global event. And we got, I think, 80, 90 viewers in the first 2 weeks. We were number 2 globally. So, and The Idol, which we were together, again, that was the opposite, where we sold it to every single territory, and it got a global audience. So I think Arab stories can absolutely reach a global audience. The key is, what are the stories we want to tell on TV? And how do we want to tell them?
I mean, isn't it strange that nobody figured out that story? And in a way, the proof is...
Well, I think the initial challenge...
Your films, the films that you mentioned are an example that Arab storytelling works. It's not
Correct.
like an impossible task, but not in series, in films.
No, but it can absolutely
far.
work. It can absolutely work in series. I think previously there was a challenge with the format of the 30 episode.
Yeah.
The kind of the traditional Arabic drama was 30 episodes for Ramadan. Okay, we've moved away from that. There's now 6 episodes, 8 episodes, 10 episodes. So that's no longer a challenge. Now the challenge is, okay, making stories which are relevant. And as Tony says, the trick is, how can you make it relevant for your local audience, for MBC, for Stars, for OSN, for whoever it could be, but then also have it be relevant internationally. But there's no reason why Scandinavian stories are more naturally interesting or appealing to an international audience where an Arab can't be. Of course it can be, but I think we need to also start asking ourselves, okay, there's so much happening in this part of the world now, whether it's in Saudi, just from a storytelling point of view, the changes there, the progress there, what women are going through, and specifically in Saudi Arabia, is fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating for a Saudi audience, for an Arab audience, for a global audience. There's no reason why we can't take those stories and make them global.
I will build on that supposition that we have good stories to tell. But the question is for you as ZDF, for you as federation. Would it make sense to you from a commercial aspect to come and join hands with whoever of the local players, whether it's platforms or production companies, for the project whose cost or the contribution of your local partner is no more than $200,000, $300,000, and you have to do the same? Is it worthwhile? Do you expect that co-production is something that will raise the quality? And you can't have higher quality without higher cost. It's a bit difficult to imagine that. But where does it start making sense or stops making commercial sense to come into partnership on co-production financially?
So I think the cheaper the better in general. But the question always is, you know, the millions do not guarantee that it will be good. There are many projects that cost a lot of money and they are not good, in my opinion. But I can send you the list if you wish. So yes, of course. I think what I am looking for in the region is stories that stand out, something that maybe, and it doesn't, like, there are approaches, like I met a lot of producers and there or commissioners from broadcasters. There's some of them, they say the first project of a producer is the best usually, because then he's passionate about it, he wants to give his best, and then it will be a success, and it's never the second or the third. So the approach can be different. Also, the money is not always guaranteed, but it means what can you do for 800K an hour? What can you do for 600K an hour? I see Turks are doing really good job, so, and it travels. So not always the money is a question, it's also like what the story is about, and it's not always, and it can be also a local story that just appeals to everyone. Like, you know, how you tell local story that appeal to general feelings. That might be an angle, for example.
How do you do it? I mean, ZDF Studio works with BBC in an English language content.
Yes.
Your stories in German
Yeah.
are made so that they appeal also not only to your local audience, but to an international audience, right? It's not only that, because you will think about distribution and worldwide with the rest of the world who don't speak German. It will be dubbed most probably. Yeah. But what is the ingredient that makes you believe this content, this specific series, is good internationally as it is locally?
So I think we'll go back. I think the script is really important. The quality of writing is really important. Then, like, it should, like, as I said, there should be genuine feelings or genuine things, like, or assumptions about the culture, like Midsummer Murders from Sweden. You assume that it's like this in Sweden, or like Korea, like the Korean love and romance drama. You assume those are the Koreans and they love the way they show it. Or like my best example is Emily in Paris. I don't know if any Parisian actually likes the series. I think they hate it, but it just works so well. It's just like a simple concept. It's like, you know, you can tell it's so easy and cheap, but it does work. And those are the things you have to think about, you know. And of course, and I agree that maybe it's not the traditional drama that will work internationally, but make a traditional drama with a twist, and it might be better. Like, you know what I mean? There will always be a twist. You can have a creative team, you can have a showrunner, and the ideas can be diverse. It's, you know, that's why you are creative, to create things that can appeal to everyone. And you read this, and the quality of writing, I think, is also important. Can you read the pitch deck until the end, or it just like stops you somewhere in the middle?
Joachim, your answer, and then we'll open the door for questions.
So for me, I think also story first and budget in the second time. But what I will say personally, I think genres and the codes are some stuff you can relate to create a good story that can touch a global audience, or if not global, an international audiences. I don't think every show or every TV series or every film or every documentaries are made for everyone. So let's say, how can we make great thrillers or great romantic comedy with all the codes a lot of the people in the world know about and are expecting to see in a TV series or in a film? Let's say a romantic film. You know, a lot of people are expecting, you know, woman and a man in a magic place, could be New York, Paris, or wherever, and you are expecting stuff. And when you are meeting the expectation of an audience, maybe you will say, oh, it's lame, it's not very fresh, it's not very original, but people can relate to. And we have a lot of examples, like Korean TV series that are making very, very well. And we see there is a lot of there is a Korean pavilion. We see, obviously, the UK, there is like a kind of British touch. How come, you know, everywhere in the world, you watch a British show and you know it's British, right? You have Scandinoir, for example. And I think when you tap into the codes of the genre, it's a tool, you know, it's a tips. And there is something else, like about the language. You know, a lot of people say if it's not in English, it won't work and it won't sell. And obviously, it's pretty accurate. It's very difficult to sell, you know, other language than English. But sometimes, because of the story, let's say, you know, for example, my group, my studio produced the Bureau, you know, Le Bureau des Légendes. And it was a great success in multiple countries. And in some countries, it's about remake rights, right, to do, you know, that production themselves. So I think there is a multiply of ways to make it global, but it starts with a story that it's, you know, built upon codes like, you know, the thrillers codes, romantic codes, police cop show, etc.
Questions? We all know what's co-production then.
This is a question for Tony. I was interested what you mean exactly. I mean, I can assume, but I don't know what you mean with what appeals to the region here and what works internationally. Where do you see the biggest differences or the challenges that content travels?
So initially, what works here, at least from our data that shows that what works here is something that relates to the region, to the culture, and eventually the same can work in the international market, or sometimes it will not. So you need to have a script that can be on an international level, treating a case or a story that can be internationally and locally the same impact. So today what I can see, and I know that MBC are doing lots of production that can travel, but it's not traveling yet, and hopefully in the future it will. We tried also non-scripted that works better than the scripted for the international market. However, we still see that the production is basically because the actors are from the region and they are well perceived in the region, but not internationally, at least not all of them. Some may. However, when you have an international production, everybody knows the actors and they can relate. Like recently what Fadi just talked about, the Night Manager, that we just finalized the deal and we have it on the platform. So everybody knows the actors. However, it's a strictly non-common story in the Night Manager. And we did a co-production with AMC and fifth season, on an international story that can also be adapted here, but we will see if we will do it or not. So I still feel that whatever the writers are doing in the local market needs a change in the storytelling, and that can relate to everyone, not only for the culture and the region. So this is the tweak that we need to start working on it. And I believe lots of us are trying, but hopefully we'll see some good success.
We have 1 minute 34 to finish. Any more? Are you, Joachim and Jacob, ready for, what would you, in a nutshell, in one word, look for in a co-production with an Arab partner? What are you looking for to have a co-production with Arab partners, both of you?
In one word. Wow. Give me two good stories.
Money. We can bring the rest.
With that, I'll thank you for your presence. I thank Ali, Joachim, Tony, and Yuliya. Have a nice afternoon. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.